Kevin Kiley went scorched earth on Jasmine Crockett. Check it out.
It seems like blue states are constantly putting red states on life support, yet we got these little red states that ain't contributing nothing, but they are definitely taking up a lot of money.
During a House hearing, Jasmine wandered off topic, rambling about California being, quote, the best state, until Kevin stepped in and cut through the noise with cold, hard facts.
A comment that the ranking member, the representative from Texas, made about my state, California, claiming that our state gives disproportionately to the federal government and is some sort of donor state. Actually, the state of California gives nothing to the federal government. Individuals and businesses do pay taxes.
That's why today we're covering it all, because we're not here to follow parties blindly. We're here for common sense. So if you're an independent thinker, hit the subscribe button and let's jump right into it.
Earlier, someone mentioned these hellholes, talking about the cities, right? Talking about cities being hellholes. I just want to point to Los Angeles. I'm sure that's one of the cities they were referring to when they said that. Los Angeles contributes almost $20 billion in taxes. You know what? That's more than all states in this country except for 4. So guess what? If we are going to push any ideologies, it seems like LA should have an outsized interest in the ideology, because it seems like they actually contribute more money than all these other states, especially these red states, to be clear. In fact, I have another UC.
Without objection.
All right, blue states are bailing out red states. I have another UC.
Without objection.
Massachusetts sends more funding to the feds than any other state. It seems like blue states are constantly putting red states on life support, yet we got these little red states that ain't contributing nothing, but they are definitely taking up a lot of money. You know, it is interesting because the governor in California, I don't know if you caught this, but Governor Newsom was talking about just holding on to his dollars, because California is what they call a donor state, meaning that they actually contribute more than they take from the federal government. And then you can go down south to states like Louisiana, who are broke, and so they need California to pay in. So it is so interesting that we are so concerned about whether or not we are pushing certain ideologies. But let me talk about some of these.
Now, for context, this hearing was focused on looking into how, quote, leftist nonprofit networks exploit federal tax dollars to advance a radical agenda. Instead of addressing that, Jasmine dodged entirely and went off on a tangent about California. But we'll bite, because her claims are nothing more than half-truths. Sure, the governor being left or right is a factor in how a state performs financially, but there are others at play, like population, geography, resources, and infrastructure, which play a far bigger role. Take GDP, for example. The top 4 states right now are California, Texas, New York, and Florida. 2 red, 2 blue. Not so long ago, California leaned Republican while Texas leaned Democrat. And historically, many of today's poor states were once solidly blue. So, her narrative doesn't really hold up. But there's another fundamental flaw in her logic, and I'll let Kevin do the explaining.
We'll now recognize Mr. Kiley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did want to briefly address a comment that the ranking member, the representative from Texas, made about my state, California, claiming that our state gives disproportionately to the federal government and is some sort of donor state. Actually, the state of California gives nothing to the federal government. Individuals and businesses do pay taxes. And Governor Newsom's suggestion that we should withhold those taxes, as our Treasury Secretary has pointed out, is threatening to commit the felony of criminal tax evasion. As to this notion that Los Angeles is somehow a model of good governance, just today, Los Angeles came out with its new homelessness numbers. The current count is 72,308. The police chief in LA has formally advised people not to wear jewelry when they go outside because they will get mugged. The city just announced 614 layoffs because the finances are such a mess. And this is to say nothing of the recent riots and the catastrophic fires that came after the mayor defunded the fire department.
Exactly. We'd also add to the list the infamous map that Governor DeSantis shared during his debate with Newsom. And Kevin did an amazing job in debunking the claim of California being a, quote, donor state. It's not like Gavin is paying the federal government out of his own pocket. These are Americans paying their fair share of taxes. And it's not like Jasmine doesn't know. Believe me, she does. But for some reason, she's into this ongoing game of dumbing down the political discourse. Kiley didn't stop there, however, and went back to the original topic of the hearing, showcasing how one leftist nonprofit was aiding rioters in California. But before we get to play that, we have a quick message for you. So why is your managed retirement account still using strategies that haven't changed in over 5 decades? Most IRAs, 401ks, and TSPs are still using the default 60-40 strategy because it benefits corporations, not you. So if you have over $100,000 in retirement savings, get instant access to a free 2-minute report from Augusta Precious Metals that reveals how to take control of your financial future in one step. Visit mentorforgold.com, that's mentorforgold.com, or text mentor to 35052 today. Now, back to the video.
But on to the topic of today's hearing. It's bad enough that we have all of this funding going towards NGOs that then support radical ideological causes. Sort of the logical next step that we've seen is funding organizations that then directly commit or facilitate criminal activity. And this is exactly what we saw with respect to the recent riots in Los Angeles, where you had a group known as CHIRLA, the Center for Humane Immigration Rights Los Angeles, that played a central role in organizing the riots. They made use of a hotline through Signal where they would inform rioters at any given moment where ICE personnel could be found, so those individuals could then converge, they could disrupt their operations, they could use commercial dumpsters as battering rams, they could assault officers, and so forth. CHIRLA, by the way, has been implicated in other ways in all of the recent chaos that we've seen. For example, the incident where tire spikes were used to disable the vehicles of Border Patrol. The individuals engaging in these crimes were carrying the tire spikes in bags with CHIRLA's name on them.
Ooh, there's quite a bit to unpack here. The Coalition for Humane Immigration Rights of Los Angeles, or CHIRLA, presents itself as an immigration rights group, but a closer look suggests they've gone well beyond that role. For instance, in April of this year, they released a, quote, Know Your Rights PDF that stated that they reactivated a rapid response network which manages its operations through signal groups. Then, just 1 month later, after the LA riots, CHIRLA published a blog post complete with an infographic showing where ICE was conducting operations. They also continued organizing rallies and marches across Los Angeles even after the riots. Now, to be fair, we can't say they directly organized the unrest, but when you piece these actions together, the picture isn't flattering. Senator Josh Hawley has since launched an investigation into this group, and we'll have to wait on those findings for a definitive conclusion. You might be wondering, where does such an organization get funding from? The answer might not be so shocking.
And to top it all off, Karen Bass's recent proposal to give cash cards to illegal immigrants supposedly affected by ICE operations are being distributed to them by, you guessed it, CHIRLA. So I've introduced a bill, the No Tax Dollars for Riots Act, which will make sure that organizations like this do not continue to get funding, and indeed that they cannot claim tax-exempt status. President Trump has enthusiastically endorsed that bill and said it should be passed immediately. On top of that, this committee, the House Judiciary Committee, has opened an investigation into CHIRLA's use of the federal funding that it received during the Biden administration. It also received $34 million from California, accounting for the vast majority of its revenue. It's effectively a subsidiary of the state, or a subsidiary of the sanctuary state, if you will.
Okay, we need to make a minor correction, as CHIRLA received $35 million in 2023 and 2024 from the state of California, and local Republican lawmakers have long been calling for this organization to be audited. With those facts on the table, it's no wonder Jasmine chose to ignore the issue entirely and resort to theatrics instead. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, keep thinking.